Hi, my name is Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and today, this is a companion video to the one that I just published, which is about my plans for the polytunnel overwinter. This is a video about my plans for outside overwinter. I'm going to concentrate particularly on my plot because on Jennie and Debbie's plot we're just doing what everybody does. We're just doing, the purple sprouting broccoli, the sprouts, the colettes, the overwintering onions, the garlic, all just the standard allotment staples. On my plot we do something a little bit different, and so I'll show you around. So it's the end of July now and almost all of the allotment is uncovered. We've got some nets on things that like a bit of shade, like the brassicas over there and the lettuces over here, and you can see just how nice it is for the lettuces in these shady covers. They're doing really nicely. So I'll have a quick look round, we'll look at what's in the beds at the moment, and we'll talk about how those beds will transition. So in this bed, for example, since this won't, the only cover this is going to have is this net, this is where winter miners lettuce will probably go in here, and winter lamb's lettuce will go in here, and so they'll probably be planted, the lamb's lettuce in August and the miner's lettuce in September, and the intention is that those will be ready in December and January because that's the leanest period for us on the allotment. And miner's lettuce and lamb lettuce, they're kind of at their peak at that time of year. So all of these beds, which just look like kind of funny shaped raised beds, are actually coal frames, and we just screw a coal frame top onto there, and then you've got a lovely coal frame. So all those coal frame tops are just currently stored at the back of the polytunnel, and that's the beauty of coal frames. It's really easy to store the lids. You can treat them just like a kind of wind shaded growing space, and plants actually do really like that shade, shade, whatever, from the wind, the protection from the wind. The wind normally blows in at about this direction, so it actually works pretty well. This bed's golden purslane, so in here probably will go lettuces or spinach, and lettuces will do if you pick the right varieties, and again that's things like bijou, Grenoble red, marvel of all seasons, winter marvel, those types of lettuces. They'll do really nicely in here, as will spinach, Medenia, or Medania, I can't remember my names, and red kitten, for example, and winter giant are all great spinaches. So spinach does grow quite high, so sometimes it's better in the hoop tunnels, and I'll show you those in a minute. So over here we've got New Zealand spinach, which is our favourite spinach for summer, and that'll be out in October, just before the first frosts really, and again be replaced by a lettuce or a spinach or a radish. We particularly like the watermelon radish, and we really also like to sow a batch of that for the leaves, because the leaves are just really great in smoothies, and they're a brassica leaf, and it's nice to have a mix of brassica leaves and spinach leaves and beet leaves, so you're getting low oxalic acid and high oxalic acid foods. So this bed will stay because this is red cabbage and calabrese, so that will stay as it is all the way through winter probably, and with no change. So then we're another coal frame, and so this has got beets in it at the moment. Those beets will be harvested in October. Those are beets, those will be harvested in August and September. This pea frame will come out, and then this again will get its coal frame lid on, and lettuces will go in here. Probably because it's not being freed up until October, lettuces will go in here which will mature in early spring. So probably in here will be something like winter gem or winter density, and those will just grow as small plants, and then they'll be amazing come sort of March, April time. So then I've got these two mini hoop tunnels, and spinach absolutely loves these hoop tunnels. It allows us to continue to harvest spinach all the way through winter, although the rate definitely slows down. Things like chard and perpetual spinach also love these. We'll often just have them on this vented setting, so the top will just sit on that little vent, and they're quite happy all the way through winter. It just keeps the wind off them, keeps the rain and the hail and the snow off them, but gives them still plenty of ventilation. So let's just have a quick look at what's in here at the moment. Gorgeous selection of peppers. So these will be harvested in September, October time, and as I say, this bed will then transition over to spinach. So this is a lovely bed of chard, bright light I think that is, with some spring onions which will soon be harvested and be replaced by more chard. And then this is a more mature chard bed, and all that chard will be protected by another one of these hoop tunnels, and as I say, that will allow us to continue to harvest chard all the way through the year. Now I know in some locations people manage to harvest chard in December and January and February without any protection, but here the winds are just so great, it just gets so badly battered, it's not really worth it. Here we've got another really nice cold frame bed, and this one's going to have baby leaf kale in it, and so we've got our first trial of that right now, and it's looking really nice. I'm very pleased with it. So yeah, that'll allow us to keep baby leaf kale going all the way through winter. Then I've got these really deep cold frames, and these have currently got beetroot in them, or chard. Actually this one's chard, and so this will actually stay in here, and obviously it can grow quite tall in here because it's the deepest or one of the deepest cold frames that I've got, so it's perfect for chard. And then they've got this one here which has currently got now if I can remember the variety, I think it's black something or other, but anyway it's a Carvalho Nero effectively, and it's beautiful kale, and we started it in this cold frame because we started it really early. So I think we planted this one out February, March time, and so we were harvesting off this when all of the other chard was just going to seed. So when all the other kale was just going to seed. And so it's been absolutely fabulous. But there'll come a point where we've just got so much kale that we don't need this. Then we'll take this out and probably put something like perpetual spinach in here instead. So then we've got beetroots in here and here. And again, these will be harvested. This one will be harvested soon, in August, this one probably in September, and then we'll transition again these over to spinach or lettuce, whatever. I don't tend to over plan exactly what's going in what bed, because it all depends on how well crops do, how quickly we pick them, when these seedlings come available. This bed is full of sprouts and kales, and hopefully this bed will continue to be full of sprouts and kales through winter. And then this is an interesting bed. So this is where our shallots were. We've just harvested the shallots and got some gorgeous onions in here. All these are multi-sown, and you can see that you get some pretty big onions when you multi-sow just 2. And there's quite a few in here that where we've multi-sowed 3 to a plug. This bed is all going to be field beans, and we don't sow field beans just to improve the soil, we also sow them because they're an absolutely fantastic spinach alternative in the heart of winter. So spinach definitely slows down in December and January and early February, and then it goes crazy. But field beans fill that gap. Just harvest those field beans like crazy all the way through winter, so we don't go short of smoothie greens and stir fry greens and soup greens and whatever. So this is the strawberry bed, or one of many strawberry beds, but this is the one on my plot. We've got some trees down the centre here, and then when these get cut back a little bit for winter, down the centre here we have garlic and shallots, and those give us a lovely harvest there. We've got some more New Zealand spinach, and here we've got some golden purslane. This is an earlier succession to the one we saw before. It's not doing quite so well now because it's pretty old. And again, this will transition over to lettuces probably. And we've got an existing lettuce bed here. I only sowed this a few weeks ago, so it's looking beautiful. And so probably, I'm not quite sure what will go in here. Maybe radishes would be a good bet. We've got some carrots, they'll stay for as long as possible. Some more lettuces in here. These will probably be replaced in September time with something like salad rocket would be a good bet. And what else have we got? We've got some multi-sown sprouts, which seems like a crazy idea, but we love it. We sow them in little clumps of 3, in that case there's a clump of 4 sprouts. What you get then when you do that is you just get an abundance of leaves, and we absolutely love sprout leaves. I love them steamed, and you get loads of sprout tops. These are just starting to form beautiful sprout tops, and then you will eventually get some sprouts. What they will be like are quite loose sprouts, what some people think of as blown sprouts, but they're just beautiful, the most beautiful tender little clumps of sprout leaves. That's my absolute favourite. And then this bed will be transitioned to something else, not quite sure yet, but again it might be spinach or carrots or something like that. Early carrots probably sown under one of these hoop tunnels, probably in February. And then we've got some beets here, golden beetroot, and kale. That kale will be finished probably by September time. This will get harvested in October time, so again all this will transition over probably to lettuces that will start harvesting in spring. And then in here, almost certainly I think we're going to put chicories. So beautiful red hearted crispy chicories for salad mixes, and we'll have a couple of beds of those, and again the cold frame lids will go on there. And then I've got my carrot bed, one of several carrot beds. We're gradually harvesting this, so late August, early September we'll finish the harvest of that. So in there will go a whole load of cabbages for winter and early spring, and then that will transition back to a carrot bed again. And then there's another brassica bed, and hopefully that will stay a brassica bed over winter. So those cabbages will get replanted with spring cabbages. Some of those gaps in there will get filled with kales, and there's some beetroot interplanted in there as well. So I think, I thought I should mention just for the completeness, we've got the asparagus. Obviously that will get cut down in autumn, and so we'll have asparagus in early spring. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how everything transitions over to winter. You notice that I don't have any potatoes, and that's because we grow the potatoes at home, and they're all in containers, and so it's just so much easier at home because containers need quite a lot of water, and obviously we've got an abundance of water at home. In fact, we've got an abundance of rainwater, which is what potatoes prefer. But I am going to grow some potatoes here, but I'm really growing just Christmas potatoes. These are some of the tubs I'm going to grow the Christmas potatoes in. These will take 2 Christmas potato Charlottes, and those over there will take 1 Charlotte. They'll stay outside for as long as possible, and then if I absolutely must, I'll move them into the polytunnel. You know, that's just if there's a frost threatened and they're not quite matured or not yet. I might grow a few intentionally really late and try and keep them going in the polytunnel, and that's because we try to have continuity of new potatoes all year round. So I think we harvested our first new potatoes in April. We finished our last new potatoes that we'd grown for Christmas in February, so I'm really looking to sort of fill that February through to the end of March gap in new potatoes, and so part of that is try and keep some going from just leave them with the tops cut off in these containers in a frost-free location, probably through until the end of February, so just sow a few more in August. So yeah, August is when you sow your Christmas potatoes, and then I'm going to try and get some even earlier ones. So I'm going to start some at the beginning of January and harvest those from containers in the polytunnel in by the end of March. So that's my plan. So I'll do another video where I talk about all the stuff we're going to have in store, but for now let's move on. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and it seems kind of strange, doesn't it, when you're in the middle of summer to be thinking so much about winter, but now is the time. Early August through to early September is basically the time to start thinking about sowing your seeds for winter. Some things, obviously, the time has passed probably, so things like carrots, time has passed, unless you're going to grow them inside like me, and purple sprouting broccoli, you might get something, but you know, the optimum time for sowing that was earlier in the year. So anyway, there we go, all done, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon.